welcome to DevOps. I'm excited to be here. I was, when Bridget asked me to deliver a keynote for DevOps, I said to myself, what do I have to say to the smart, brilliant people that are here today in front of me? And the thing that came to mind is the passion that I have for technology and how technology can be used for good. My name is Sharon Vickers, and I serve at the residents of the city of St. Paul and the global civic tech community as Mayor Melvin Carter's Chief Information Officer. As CIO, I get to work with a dedicated group of public servants, much like yourselves, who believe that technology can be harnessed to strengthen communities, public safety, and our local economies. A little bit about myself. My appointment as CIO by Mayor Carter was recent. I think in a couple of weeks, it'll be 6 months. So I still have that year of grace period to screw a lot of things up and ask for forgiveness. So, but I started my career as a software engineer in the great state of Georgia. I'm a Georgia peach. Any other Georgia peaches in here? I see one in the back, yes. So I started my career working for academic institutions and Georgia Tech. A few of you probably heard of Georgia Tech's little scrub school in Georgia that does, a lot of what you do here, and also Emory University. I came to the University of Minnesota in 2003. I was hired by Mark McCahill. A few of you may know him as one of the architects of Gopher at the university. The first thing he asked me when I was interviewing, why are you moving to Minnesota from Georgia? Did you not look at the weather? And I told him that love will cause you to do strange things. My husband came here for graduate school, and he said he liked it. And I've been in Georgia all my life, and I thought it was a great opportunity for me to move and change my perspective outside of the southern region. So I worked at the University of Georgia, University of Minnesota for about 7 years. I left the University of Minnesota because I was looking for an opportunity in a leadership role, and there that took me to Community Action Partnership of Scott and Carver and Dakota counties. And that was a human service organization where we provided services for individuals from basically the cradle, or for what we used to say, from diapers to diapers. We provided health care, and we also provided meals for individuals, elderly individuals within our community. We also provided WIC to families in need of nutritional food. We provided daycare service. We also provided housing. The thing I can say, or the common thread in my career, has been the power to use technology for good. Although I enjoy the long lines of code, and sometimes for me that was bad code. What was most exciting to me about technology was the ability to affect change at my fingertips. And that's what I got most excited about in technology. was not the lines of code, but the actual people when I was able to deliver a service or a technology to them that made their life or the work that they were doing better. And so that brings me to my current role as CIO for the city of St. Paul. What excited me about this role, one in which I was reluctant to take on, but received a lot of encouragement from my friends and family to dive in and apply for that role. But the reason why I was excited about that role was the vision that the mayor of St. Paul, our new mayor, articulated. He articulated a vision of a St. Paul for all, a St. Paul where equity was not an initiative, but a lens in which everyone would do their work. A St. Paul where a child's outcomes or life outcomes was not determined by their zip code, but by their ability and the work. A St. Paul where the 100 languages spoken in the city in St. Paul public schools was viewed as a global competitive advantage as opposed to a deficiency or something that needed to be changed. His vision excited me. His vision excited me because I believe it was perfect alignment to my life mission and purpose, and that was to ensure that all individuals have access to the resources that they need for social and economic well-being. And every day I wake up excited, and also terrified about the work that I get to do with amazing individuals, again, like yourself. I get to work with designers, I get to work with server admins, I get to work with security experts, I get to work with data nerds and geeks, all with one mission and one purpose, and that is disrupting inequity in the city of St. Paul. It's an honor and it's a privilege for me to be able to use my skills and my technology, my knowledge for good. So today I just want to talk about the opportunity that not only I have, but each of us have in this room to use technology for good within our everyday lives, and to understand why it is important for us to deploy technology for good and not for evil. I would say the biggest thing we must answer, or the question is why? Why is it important? And I like to answer that why with impact. What we do as technologists, it has impact. That impact can be positive, or that impact can be negative, but everything that we do, it has impact, and it doesn't just have impact for one individual, it has an impact for our entire communities and our world. To understand how or why this impact is important, we should explore some examples of how technology has been used for not good purposes. The first thing that comes to mind when we think about, technology being used for nefarious purposes is cyber attacks and identity theft. Across the nation, we have cities like Atlanta and Denver have been crippled due to cyber attacks. Cyber thieves access data or are able to exploit vulnerabilities in our technology and demand ransom. For the United States, In 2016, that cost to us has been close to $2 billion. In addition to the cost of recovering from those cyber attacks, those attacks, the impact of those attacks included the crippling of services for very critical services for cities. The impact was also a loss of time and trust. In 2017, there were over 17 million victims of identity theft and fraud. In 2017, $16.8 billion was stolen from consumers. Victims of identity theft spent over 140 million hours trying to resolve their issues and lost an average of between $2,000 and $14,000 in wages dealing with their cases. Another case that's most recent and top of mind is the Facebook. Facebook failed to safeguard our users' information, and it failed to be transparent about how that data was harvested by others. And we now know that in 2014 and 2015, Facebook app allowed the harvesting of over 87 million profiles of users, and that information was used by Cambridge Analytics in the 2000 presidential election. Again, that impact to our society, it destroyed public trust as well as the potential to threaten our democracy. Then we have artificial intelligence. Our modern life is run by intelligent algorithms that devour data and at this point, they determine the search results for Google, for our Facebook news feeds, online shopping, and provide recommendations for us. It also, more recently, it can determine who gets a mortgage and job interviews, who gets stopped and searched by the police, and also penalties for committing crimes. On face value, you would think these are good things, but within these are potential for harm. I wanted to explore some examples of how artificial intelligence has been used and has caused harmful effects within our society. Most recently, AI is being used in the U.S. for sentencing and predicting the likelihood of a criminal reoffending. Research has shown that these systems and tools and algorithms are not really good at predicting the outcomes, and in most cases predicts that Black defendants pose a higher risk than white defendants when that is not actually true. Another case also, the software was designed to predict where crime will actually happen or not happen. One of the outcomes of that was it led police to unfairly target low-income communities of color. Another example includes not only or impact is race and gender bias. Facial recognition software, a researcher, an African-American woman in Boston determined that the facial recognition software now being used or utilized by a lot of retail stores as well as police departments correctly identifies white males. However, that accuracy drops when it comes to Black females. Gender stereotypes and discrimination, that's another impact of artificial intelligence. A study showed that an image search for CEOs only yielded 11% of women, when actuality there are over 27% of CEOs that are women. Another study found that Google online advertising only showed high-income jobs for men and not to women. So, as we can see that when we are designing technology and using technology, we have the power to have negative impact, whether it was intended or not. Whatever we do as technologists, it has an impact. Now, I want to talk about some examples of tech being used and that has yielded positive impact. I'm also a member of Code for America Brigade, and it is an organization that brings together technologists across the United States to work in the public sphere to help improve the services. A couple of apps that have been developed that have had positive impact that I've been really excited about because I believe they'll go a long way in eliminating inequity and disparities in the United States. One thing to note is that in the United States, 1 in 3 people have criminal records that appear on their background checks. The effect of this, it eliminates or it leaves people outside of the workforce without the ability to go to school or without the ability to get housing. Code for America worked to develop Clear My Records, which is a tool that will work with individuals to determine what is their eligibility for relief, and it will complete the appropriate applications online for them to remove or clear any negative criminal activity off their records. The impact for this, the positive impact for this is removing barriers to employment, housing, health, and education. Another app that is, again, that's near and dear to my heart, as I said before, I was a CIO for Community Action Partnership, a human service organization. And one of the things that I was working to do was to make the process for applying for benefits easier for low-income families. If you know anything about the benefits process, you have to complete applications for each different service. So if you're interested in food benefits, if you're interested in housing or childcare, often you are required to complete the same application several times. And so one of the things that we've been working to do at Code for America is to streamline that process for users, to make that process easier. If an applicant or a user comes in and needs food benefits, they complete one application and also can get qualified for other benefits, as opposed to having to complete 3 separate applications for 3 different services. What this does, the positive impact for this, it increases access to food, shelter, and health care for citizens across the nation. As a technologist, I want to, reiterate that what we do has an impact, and that impact can be positive and negative, and you have the choice to decide what that will be. What I now want to talk a little bit about is how we use technology for good. What are some of those key elements to creating disruptive technologies for good? And for me, when developing and working on tools or applications like the Clear My Record or the Live Well app that allows people to access benefits, the common denominator has been user-centered, inclusive co-creation. What this means to me is placing the user at the center of everything that we do, because I have a fundamental belief that the individuals who are most impacted by the issues or the challenges hold the key or the answer to solving that problem. So when designing or creating tech for good, we have to center the experience around the users, be inclusive, and co-create. Not just ask questions, but allow them to be a part of creating that solution. So how do I know this? Because again, I've been able to experience this firsthand. And I want to talk about a couple of examples that I have I've been a part of in creating user-centered inclusive designs or technology. At the City of St. Paul, I have the opportunity to work with a lot of vendors. I get a lot of vendor calls. Some I don't answer, or most I don't answer. But when you get a chance to work with a great vendor, you really value that. And there's one such vendor that I've had the opportunity to work with. It's a local vendor. It's a company that has this user-centered, inclusive co-creation design written in its DNA. The people, the processes, as well as the products that they produce, all are centered around the users, and it's inclusive, and they co-create with the users. That company is Software for Good. What I really love about Software for Good is that not only do they take this approach to creating technology, they have, their company has a fiduciary responsibility to do good and to use technology as a force for good. And so I really get excited about working with them. We're working on a project now. The City of St. Paul has a Right Track program where we connect high school students and college-age students to job and employment opportunities. And so the current application and system was not working for the city. And the reason why it did not work for the city, because we didn't consider the users. We only considered the technology that we would use in order to build that service. We didn't think about the user. We didn't invite them into the process of creating technology or this design for us. But with Software for Good, we've been able to take a step back and center our design and our approach around the users and co-create in partnership with them. The other thing, or the other example that I have, or I've had the opportunity to be a part of when creating, using Tech for Good, I'm one of the co-organizers for Code Switch. So it's going to be a little shameless plug right here. Code Switch is happening September 22nd and 23rd. It's a civic hackathon that I co-organize along with some individuals who may or may not be here. I call them my dream catchers. I throw out a crazy idea and they work to help with me to make it happen. In 2015, I threw out this crazy idea of having a hackathon that was inclusive of communities of color. We all know that if we go to most hackathons, they're not inclusive of women and people of color. And so I wanted to change that, and also wanted to use a hackathon to create tools that had a positive social impact. And we had this bold idea of disrupting inequity. And we're now in our third year of Code Switch each year. Our first year, we started with about 100 participants. Last year, we had 250 participants. And this year, we are expecting or hoping for at least 500 participants. Again, another shameless plug is September 22nd and 23rd. I would love to have all or each of you there. The exciting thing about Code Switch is that it is an opportunity for technologists to come together and really and truly work with the people experiencing challenges within our communities or opportunities within our communities and build solutions to some of those problems that we feel are a permanent part of our society. And I believe that with technology, we have the opportunity to dismantle a lot of those issues and challenges. I believe that racism, I believe that poverty, I believe that homelessness do not have to be a permanent part of our society. I believe those are things that we can eliminate with technology. For me, I have chosen technology as a way to disrupt or dismantle inequalities. I want to create a world where everyone has access to the resources that they need to self-actualize. And I believe that technology, I can leverage data and technology to create that world. For you, you may believe that or envision a world where children belong with their parents, regardless of their status. You may believe that women should have the right to choose what happens to their body. You may believe in a world where everyone should have the right and access to participate in our democratic process. I just hope as technologists, whatever it is that you believe in and whatever passion or thing that you'd like, or whatever world that you see technology as an opportunity to create that world. Thank you.